Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, I should say. Thank you for being here. It's our third In It Together speaker series, and today we are discussing redefining hospitality in 2021. So, since this is a board activated thing we're doing, it was created by the Pandemic Impact Task Force, and one of our key members is here today to introduce our speaker. So please join me in welcoming Connie Barbian, our 2020 Associate of the Year and Valued Vendor Member. So Connie, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Monica. Hi, everybody. I wish I could see you in person, but this is just great. Usually when I'm on Zoom, we have a glass of wine in my hand, but not today. So today it's my pleasure to introduce some really terrific people. It's our panel of ESG. They're award-winning national architecture and design firm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've had a wonderful opportunity to work with them in the past and hopefully in the future on several fantastic projects. I'd like to mention that they have just recently received the Best Hotel Mid-Scale Gold Key Award at the last hotel in St. Louis. If you haven't had a chance to stop at this boutique hotel, it's fabulous. You'll love the rooms and all the fantastic public spaces that they've designed. ESG is known for their designs in hospitality and restaurants, multifamily, and creative office spaces. Our panelists today are Ann Fritz, the Director of Interiors, and she's a partner. Lisa Vanderpool, a Senior Associate Interior Designer, and Bridget Hale, she's an Associate Interior Designer. Thanks, ladies. I'm going to turn this over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully all the technology works well today. Sounds like you'll all be able to ask questions after the fact, so feel free to pitch in and ask away anytime. Hopefully everyone can see this first kind of slide about who is ESG at this point. Yep. All right, back up here. We are, just real quick, just 2 slides on us to give a quick overview to expand a little bit on what Connie said. Just the one office headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We've been around for about 40 years, and we like that we're centrally located in the heart of our country, in the middle, because we do travel when travel was something that we were all used to about 30 states where we have active projects right now, either active or completed. So I used to be Delta Platinum and used to brag about that, but those days are far and few between, and I haven't minded the change of pace with the pandemic in terms of travel. But I'm ready to go back and visit all these cool hotels around the country for sure. 110 employees. Our staff is full in-house architects, interior designers, graphic designers, drafters, spec writers, administrators, construction administration, so the whole gambit. We do use consultants for MEP coordination as well as landscape. 22 of those are interior designers, and I like to point out that 35% of the projects our interior design team is working on is with outside architects. So often we're hired, we love to work with our own in-house architects. All right, for some reason it said the organizer muted me. I'm gonna keep trucking. But yes, we do a lot of work with outside architects, which has been great. And then our 4 market sectors, live, work, play, and stay, are kind of all about experience rich spaces where people either do those things. So multifamily housing has been huge for us. We are seeing a lot of hotels or tired hotels get converted into multifamily housing by some developers, which is an interesting model right now. But senior housing, student housing, active adult, lots of creative office, those amenities, those hospitality-like amenities within these kind of co-working spaces have been very popular. restaurants, retail, and entertainment, and then of course, hospitality, hotels, mixed use, both full service, branded, unbranded, boutique. We love it all. Extended stay, we're very familiar with all of those models. And I think a little bit, we don't need to dwell on this. You'll get to hear from all of us today. But myself, Bridget, and Lisa have worked together for years on multiple hotel projects and have a lot of synergy and hope that we can provide some great feedback and input for all of you that's helpful today. I'm going to touch on this quickly, and then I'm going to kind of toss the baton, and we'll just kind of interject as needed. But we just wanted to make sure that as we discuss this idea of redefining what is hospitality in 2021, you know, we've had a pandemic, people aren't traveling, or if they are, it's just completely changed the way we all feel about our surroundings and our environment we're in when we are in a social setting. And so we're hoping that we're kind of going to unlock the way you're thinking about things. A lot of you are already doing a lot of this and really being conscientious and being creative and pivoting and thinking about how to redefine yourself. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Is design always begins with a purpose. Like there's always a reason or a why, versus just if we just onesie twosie fixed some things and painted a wall here and did a Band-Aid approach, it never feels thoughtful. And so we really want to challenge everyone to think about redefining your brand and your story, thinking about pivoting and thinking about both the guest experience as well as the local experience, how to refresh your space. You know, is it taking away and editing, or do we need to add and enliven some areas? And then lastly, we're going to touch on how to really market to a different audience, how to advertise, how to create that social buzz, and really kind of add some new excitement and energy for your hospitality endeavors. Bridget, do you want to talk about these first slides, and I'll just power through?
Sure. So this is just going to start to dive into what Anne was talking about from a design perspective, how we always want to start a project with a story. You know, you may have a logo or a brand identity, but really digging deeper beyond that to what is the story you want to convey to your guest. So we say every design begins with thinking beyond the brand to the soul of the property's story. What story do you want guests and locals alike to share about their stay? And that's really how you get that buzz and that energy in the community, what people, guests and locals alike, wanting to come out and see what's new at your property right now.
And that key card there is from the Laura Hotel. Do you want to explain a little bit about the reasoning why we're showing that picture in particular?
Yeah, so this hotel is on a river town in Minnesota, actually on the border between Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it's a historic building that we really focused on. The heritage of this town is really Scandinavian and German. So we focused on folklore tales from Scandinavian and Germanic backgrounds, and that those are woven throughout the property. So you're seeing some symbols of the different fairy tales and folklore that we've honored in the hotel design on the key card. And so this next one is also kind of, you know, obviously hospitality design, the guest is central, right? We all know that. We've always kind of designed around that guest experience. And I think going into 2021, one of these buzzwords is pivoting, right? So pivoting from not just focusing about out-of-town guests, but really creating local experiences. These are the people in your town and community who want to get out of their house. We've all been home for a little bit too long. And so really being creative about creating new experiences for locals to come out. This is a great image. This is a hotel in Nashville called the Bobby. You know, these are really trendy. You've probably seen these in Wisconsin. You know, the outdoor dining experiences, whether it's fireside dining or the igloos or even converting. I've seen people do ice fishing shacks as little private dining experiences. So people are really getting creative, and that's what's encouraging locals to get out and experience hospitality again.
Yeah, this is on the rooftop, and they actually did these igloo globes well before the pandemic, in addition to an Airstream trailer up on their rooftop that then opens up as an outdoor bar at night with fire pits. And it's how do we expand those exterior spaces as well? You know, I think people are much more comfortable right now being outside, even in our colder temps, when you provide those outdoor environments for people to gather. Oops, went one too far there. Sorry about that.
So another thing when we think about catering to some local experiences is really, separating this idea of the work week and kind of the weekday experiences from the weekend experiences, and how you can kind of use design to support driving guests in both of those situations. So thinking about weekday amenities, people are working from home right now, a lot of people are working remotely, but are also wanting to sometimes get out of their house just for a change of scenery. So how can you reconfigure spaces that you have in your hotel right now to create some really great work experience for people who want a new environment? In particular, I really love the image on the left. It's just showing a group of kind of small 3 little chairs. It could be a repurposed dining table from your restaurant. And then there's these really great kind of bookshelf dividers. So you're creating kind of small, intimate vignettes of 3 to 4 people. That could be somebody who wants to, work in your lobby with a small group, have a little team meeting. It could be someone who wants to work by themselves, again, just outside of their house. And then how can you support that with some great amenities, whether it's, offering a coffee service or partnering with a local coffee shop or pastry shop to offer some pop-up retail pastries in your lobby, creating kind of that synergy between another local business and maybe a repurposed hotel lobby as a work lounge. One other really fun one that we have seen people do is kind of happy hour takeout. So on that last slide, there was an image of kind of a packaged charcuterie board. So, using your restaurant and food and beverage services, takeout's obviously huge, but kind of branding them like a happy hour takeout package versus the brunch takeout package. And these might be things that you guys obviously have seen people are doing, but a lot of it is how it's kind of branded. People get excited when it's like, oh, it's a special happy hour versus maybe like the lunch takeout.
And I think the other thing that we're really excited about is how can you join forces with your other hospitality partners? And we'll talk about that with multiple examples today. I think, so many of us in the hospitality world, my husband actually owns and runs a restaurant here. It's been hard. And so, what can we do to help lift each other up and celebrate, a local winery with that charcuterie board, and we get a little takeout, they get a little love, and we're celebrating some awesome Wisconsin small businesses and helping everybody and helping the hospitality industry as a whole.
So going into kind of weekends, which people are more likely to kind of go out and try to seek out some of these new creative local experiences. These are just showing things that we've seen. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of these as well. Whether it's partnering, again, like Ann said, with a local coffee shop to do a juice stand pop up in your lobby. The Super Bowl is coming up, doing takeout Bloody Mary kits that you're, using local, maybe distilled beer and local distilled spirits. Or if you have access to kind of outdoor space, doing things like snowshoeing rentals or just cross-country ski rentals, and crafting kind of a weekend staycation getaway around that. Also, we have Valentine's Day coming up. A lot of people are seeking these experiences right now just to have something to do. Maybe it's partnering with a local florist shop to do a pop-up in your lobby. And then also thinking about families. Everybody still, if you have kids, you're trying to keep them entertained during this time. Can you host kind of a game night package? You stay in the hotel for 1 to 2 nights. We bring the pizza bar or the hot chocolate bar and provide the games, and you've got entertainment for kids, which could also be a great way to still celebrate kids' birthdays during this time. And I think just to rope design into this, I think hospitality has been working towards this idea of really flexible multi-purpose spaces. So don't be afraid to rearrange your lobby and your guest rooms to accommodate these different uses. And I think that's going to give a fresh new spin to that to allow for some of these new ideas.
I think too, it's important to know that we can apply these ideas to multiple types of hospitality venues. So whether it's a small bed and breakfast, an Airbnb, a small kind of cabin experience, or more of a resort versus the full convention center hotel, it's all about getting creative and thinking about what can we do to reinvent ourselves and keep ourselves relevant as some of these events and changes in the season, things to do around the year, and you can create those package deals and create a buzz and create some revenue in a different way. Next, we're going to kind of talk about how design supports this new model. Now that things are slower, you know, for many of us in the hospitality industry, it might be a good time to think about a fresh coat of paint, you know, dusting off the old stuff, and just whether it's moving around things you already have, or editing, or adding fresh, you know, botanicals or anything like that. I think it's a good time to just look at your space through fresh eyes. We're doing that at home, right? I just got a new bedspread in my own bedroom, and it's like, just feels good in January to kind of go through that purge and clean and start fresh. Lisa, I think you're going to kick this one off.
Nope, muted.
Oh, she's muted too. Monica, if you could unmute her. Otherwise, Bridget, why don't you go ahead, and then we'll let Lisa jump in.
Oh, I think it just went. Can you guys hear me now?
Awesome.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Yeah, so getting into guest rooms, we tried to think of some things that, you know, hopefully wouldn't break the bank. It all depends where you're at in your process. Starting with the bed, I mean, it's been a trend for a while to do a white bed, and I don't see that really going away at all based on current events. Everyone just wants that. It implies clean. You know it's clean because you can't hide anything on the white. So I don't see that trend probably ever going away after what we've just gone through. And I'm sure most of you are aware, like, there's the cheat way to get there is to triple sheet in a duvet without having to take the time to actually use a real duvet, and then it is just sheeting, so it's very cleanable. So that's like one of the easiest fixes you can do if you don't have a white bed, is to start doing that triple sheet process, unless you're a higher, you know, a really full service boutique and you can do the real duvet. I just stayed in Fargo at a boutique actually, and they actually do the real duvet cover, and the staff has to take that apart every time, but it's an amazing, makes for an amazing bed. The other thing you can do if you don't already have a platform style bed, like was shown in the lower picture there, you can either achieve that through, if you are renovating your case goods, go to a platform style that's built with case goods, or a cheap way to do it is just to get a metal platform. You can get those through American Hotel. They're not very expensive, but get away from the metal base with the wheels, and then you don't have to use a bed skirt anymore, and you can go to a box spring cover, which is just a nice smooth fabric. And there's many programs out there that have quick ship box spring covers. If you can't go that far to update your base, you can at least update the bed skirt. If you have one of the older frilly styles, have someone make you just a very tailored bed skirt with the 2 inverted pleats. It makes them lay flat, so you just get this straight bed skirt, and you really only need one at each corner, and the rest just lies flat. And that would be a really efficient way to just update your bed without having to change case goods or base. The other thing we talked about was just fresh paint. It seems like lighter, brighter always gives that clean, fresh, implies a clean room. If you are able to upgrade carpet or clean carpet, go to a simpler, quieter pattern instead of the busy patterns. It'll just make your room feel larger. And then just reassessing your furniture. Do you have more furniture than you need in the room? Can you maybe remove some pieces and simplify, or even change out a couple pieces? And all that depends on where you're at with budgets and how long you've had your pieces. And another great thing is lighting. If you haven't updated bulbs in a long time, if you could update to some LED bulbs and stick in the warm range, either 2700 or up to 3000 if you have more of a modern property for the temperature of the bulb. Avoid the cool blue tone LEDs that you can sometimes get. Make sure, usually they're all labeled now with the color temperature. And then just less is more. If you're able to update your art package, local again would be amazing. Even if you can only afford to have like one local piece in each room, it just goes a long way versus a whole bunch of, you know, maybe poster type art style, if you can narrow it down and just focus on one piece.
I was just gonna
yeah, if you guys have anything else to add, go ahead.
Yeah, with art, I was gonna say, you know, if local art isn't in your budget, There's some really great sources for just kind of reproduction prints. Minted.com is great. They have affordable pieces. Society 6 is another one. And they're just kind of a collective of artists who can submit work and then it gets printed. So really good for affordable pieces. And then also with art, just really going back to your story. So, you know, local art is fantastic, but make sure it reinforces your brand and really communicates something to your guest about your property. You know, abstract art is great, but maybe the color palette from that abstract art makes sense with the room design. So there's just another layer of thought when picking out art, that it's giving the room something a little bit more. And then I will point out the bed skirt on here. This is what Lisa was talking about. So just the image in the middle is a little bit more modern with the pleated corner.
Yeah,
it's called a box pleat, if you ask anyone to help you with that. And I think, you know, we did talk about lighter, brighter colors, but here you're seeing a deeper, moody room. But again, pattern is used very subtly. And if it is used, it's in more accents like a pillow, or on this carpet, it's a classic kind of geometric. I think there's other ways too to encourage those local partnerships. I know all of you, you know, have to have those amenities in your guest rooms and the bathrooms, but why not use a local soap manufacturer and help them if you can, at least for suites, or at least maybe it's something you sell in the lobby. Just what are those things we can do, as well as creating, you know, your corridors are a huge part of a guest experience. Fresh paint, updated signage, again, warm lights rather than the cool kind of buzzing fluorescence of the past, are just simple things you can do to kind of freshen things up.
And then just one more thought on this page too, back on guest rooms, if that's okay. And you know, we talked about reconfiguring space. You know, thinking about if you are going to kind of package certain rooms as maybe a work room or a room that somebody you might do an extended stay in, can you rearrange the furniture for some of those situations? The image in the middle is like a nice little social nook, and you could partner with bringing in that bar cart. And it could be kind of a package deal where you say, you know, we're going to do a craft cocktail night. If you spend the night in our room, we're going to cart in the local cocktail kit, we'll bring it to you, and we've set up your room for kind of this little social nook in the corner. And then with the amenities that Anne was talking about, that could be a great way to rope into a special promotion. You know, for Valentine's Day weekend, we're partnering with our local Aveda salon, and they're going to be outfitting the amenities in your room for a spa night. So there's a lot of things you can do kind of on special to, again, just create that local synergy.
Yeah, we realize it's something you can't afford all the time year round, but if there's ways to promote it for special things or for package deals to market yourself in a new way, that's the idea. It's just to think outside the box a little bit in terms of that. And that plays right into public spaces as well. Bridget, you want to hit this one?
Yeah, so I mean, so much of what we said for the rooms really does apply to public space. And I think this overall idea of kind of refreshing is just taking a critical eye and really editing your space. So, you know, if you've got some really, you know, trendy or kind of dated patterns, whether it's pillows or upholsteries, kind of just removing those pieces and looking at your space without those. How can you freshen up? You know, if you've got wall coverings, you know, can you replace those wall coverings with something more classic and simple, or even just that fresh coat of paint? Generally like solid colors, and just giving yourself kind of a blank canvas on the finishes, and really then adding kind of the life and the story elements through, you know, art pieces and pillows, things that are easier to change over time. That's going to give you more flexibility. I'll go ahead, Anne, to jump in.
Botanicals and plants like we're seeing in this picture. If that wasn't there, it's a pretty simple space, but it's like those little layers, the candlelight, some of the lighting effects. It's not necessarily big, giant design moves all the time. It's simple touches.
And I think the other one is not being afraid to rearrange. This is crazy coming from a designer, because we we give you layouts and then we always come to visit the hotel and it's, you know, if it's been rearranged, sometimes we're not sure. But I think that's a really good way to cater to some of these new programs and things that people are having to do to be creative in 2021. And just symmetry is always a really good way to just convey cleanliness and organization in a layout. So if you can kind of arrange things symmetrically, that always just feels better. It feels more organized, more thoughtful, and kind of maybe bring some of your fresher pieces to the front of the space and think about what is the guest experience when they walk in the front door. Maybe you put your more modern pieces towards the front, And then also rearranging for smaller groups, knowing that people aren't traveling in big corporate events or big parties, but creating little vignettes for groups of 2 or 3 or 4, and maybe using pieces to partition those, like that image on the bottom left. That could be, again, a bookshelf or just kind of a mobile screen that has a decorative element to create those little group seatings. And these are just a few more images of public space. Again, the image on the top left is just a small little social group. Maybe you break that out from a larger lounge that you have. Even around your bar spaces, removing some stools obviously for kind of COVID reasons, but creating some symmetry with that. Again, partnering with local people and creating buzz in your lobby is great. So if you can do a cocktail pop-up at your bar and partner with a local distillery or brewery, local coffee roasters, that's another great way to create some buzz and promote that on social media as like a special Saturday event. And then I really think if you are able to create that blank canvas and using a lot of solids as your big pieces, you can pop in that life and story with, a single piece of art like that image in the top middle. That could be just a feature piece of local art that speaks to your story. It could be a great way to just give your whole space a fresh new feel.
And your other one was, the middle photo was just creating vignettes. Like if you have the opportunity to have a little niche or you have this smaller area, just think about when people come around a corner. Maybe it's even somewhere on the way to your corridors. I know you all probably have very different properties, but just find an opportunity to create a little moment or something that someone will, post to Instagram, right?
Yeah.
We haven't touched. Oh.
I was just going to say, as we're editing our lobbies and pulling furniture out, there's probably little niches like this where you could reuse furniture and create those little places to sit down and make a phone call or check your email and distance yourself from others and not have to buy something new, but repurpose something you already have.
And we haven't talked about this yet, but technology, and really when we say that, it's just access to power. So if you can create, more opportunities for plugs or adding powered lamps that have plugs in them, even in your public space, so someone can charge their phone and actually work in your lobby, any layer of technology and charging that you can add is beneficial and encourage people to hang out in these spaces more.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to make the power intuitive and not so in your face where it looks like you're in the Jetsons like technology era. But when people want to plug in their phone, they find an outlet. They will look for one. So you don't have to like make it in your face. It's nice when they're subtly integrated or there's so many different options where you can plug and play with some portable things. So there's lots of products out there, and we're happy to answer more questions about that later on too. I think now we're going to move into marketing and how to kind of talk about things from a social media standpoint, buzz, bloggers, influencers, and just making sure we can help you get those great design ideas and hospitality experiences out there in the market.
So we've been touching on this, I think, all throughout this presentation, but this is really how we've seen a lot of people draw new excitement and buzz around their properties right now, is kind of these special occasion things and then tweaking the design of their space to cater to it. So the image on the top left is a local retail pop-up in a hotel. This could be something really simple that you just partner somebody again on a weekend or for a week-long basis and make sure then it's promoted. The best way we found that people are creating buzz about this is via social media. That's how a lot of people are getting their news and attention right now. And there's also, we've seen a lot of people who actually partner with a local influencer or somebody in your community that a lot of people look to for great places to check out. Letting them stay at your hotel and do a feature or a blog post about their experience and what the promotion is that you're doing can be a great way to get the word out too.
And homemade Pop-Tarts.
Food,
but
everyone's favorite.
If you've got like that iconic Wisconsin, treat or something you can do with your menu that you can feature, whether it's for a seasonal thing or a holiday thing or a special promotion, again, why not promote it on social media and create that buzz and add that hashtag and get more attention to your property.
And a lot of people are doing kind of like pet vacations, grading packages that like we're a dog-friendly hotel, bring your dog, stay for the night, and then having kind of treats and water for them. So there's just so many different angles depending on your project's or property story that you can approach this with.
Now we wanted to focus on a case study of the Hewing Hotel, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. This one was one near and dear to my heart that we worked on in ESG several years ago, and we're thrilled that it's still so popular. And I think they've really done a good job remaining nimble during this pandemic. And just thinking more and more about how can we promote ourselves, how can we reinvent ourselves constantly. I'm sure, you know, like all of you, we're all exhausted trying to figure out how to create this new normal and get through. And in the long run, I think a lot of these changes are here to stay. This one is operated by a Perium group based out of Chicago. They have several amazing kind of experiential hotels. They're definitely promoting less stuff and more experiences and selling gift cards both online, little pop-ups at the front desk or even at the bar, just little reminders. I think those handwritten notes when you check out or even mailed to you after your stay, if you can do something, it's the personal touch, especially for the smaller mom and pop bed and breakfasts. Thank you for your stay. It means so much and to a lot of people because we don't get that tactile handwritten note anymore and that kind of really personal interaction. One of the things that I think the Hewing is doing, aside from pop-up retail, pop-up distilleries or pop-up tasting menus or partnering with local retailers, like here they're featuring in their kind of small sundries space, a local men's boutique, Martin Patrick. But these two images are guest rooms. And if you haven't seen this yet, they have removed the beds or the king size bed. They've left the headboard and they've taken the dining tables from their restaurant and chairs and moved them up to the guest room. Then they've seated this table for, you know, service for two for a romantic dinner with fresh flowers, wine. And what they've been doing is you can reserve a guest room for a private dinner experience. You can check in online, walk right up, and, you know, through your phone, you just can, you know, unlock that door sometimes, or if you have to check in at the front desk and get a key card, it's limited interaction with someone masked. And once you're in there, there's a tablet often. And some of them are doing where you can order online through the tablet, and then the server would come up and just, you know, in a mask, serve your food and then let you be. And if you need anything else or you need seconds or you need anything, you just let them know. So you get this completely private, totally COVID safe, really romantic and intimate setting to have this kind of special dinner. They're also doing that for working events, for meetings during the day, for lunch meetings, for professionals. So kind of a cool take on how can we just quickly store that mattress somewhere. Hopefully there's storage on each floor in this hotel, or I think they're just actually moving them to a vacant room next door. And they have sold out over and over and over, time and time again, for these different reserved time slots for dinner in a guest room. So kind of an interesting take on things.
I do think too.
Oh, go ahead.
I think with that same promotion they're doing, you can actually then choose to kind of extend your night or choose to stay for kind of a discounted rate. And then they do still have rooms, obviously, that have beds that aren't flipped to these dining experiences. But I think a lot of people have opted into that. Like you want to just extend your evening, you've had a couple cocktails and make a weekend of it.
Yeah, or they're doing, if it's a double queen, they'll take out one mattress and make this dining moment, and then you still have the bed, so you never have to leave the room. So fun ideas for Valentine's Day to really encourage, like, how can you upsell that room and include that F&B experience, add that bottle of wine, add that local bouquet from your favorite florist, or those chocolates from the local kind of chocolate candy shop. Those kinds of things I think are great add-ons. And then in addition, they have this alley between their building and the next. They've gotten creative with heat lamps, strung those kind of fairy lights or twinkle lights, and have outdoor seating out here that has been busy, added a fire kind of pit moment, and even in a downtown urban setting, have created this kind of almost European alleyway oasis. There's been so many photos of this on social media, including wedding pictures of people out here, but the fact that they're still maintaining that true Nordic Minnesota experience matches their brand and are increasing, you know, the opportunity for people to come and gather in a safe setting until it's safe for all of us to be inside. I know in Wisconsin, the rules are a little different in each city or jurisdiction. But in Minnesota, we just this last week were allowed to seat at 50% capacity in person indoors in restaurants. So it's critical that they've gotten creative.
And this
That,
one, oh,
go ahead.
just to add one element on the alley, they did market that a little bit differently. So we've talked a lot about, using social media and getting the word out. They took a different approach with this alley where it just spread by word of mouth. So it was almost difficult to find where the alley was. How do you get a reservation? But that created a lot of buzz. I mean, people were seeking that out, trying to ask people who have been to it, how do you get a reservation? And so there's kind of that like speakeasy, more secret way to also market. So just a different approach.
We wanted to make sure we allowed a lot of time for Q&A, and we're happy to go back to any of these slides, but I think I'll let Monica take over control at this point, unless there's anything else you want us to bring up on the screen. That was a lot of info. Or I think Connie was going to kind of moderate questions in the. Yeah.
So we don't have a lot of questions yet. So if anybody has a question, please use the panel to send it in. But I do have one that maybe you could touch on. How do we update our breakfast bar to flow smoothly and accommodate all of the new requirements in a post-COVID world?
I can kind of try to answer that, I think, and then others can please weigh in. But I think, especially if it is a business traveler, being one myself, the faster I can grab something and go, but in a healthy way. Like if there was pre-made kind of yogurt, granola, fruit parfaits that are sitting in ice ready to go versus me scooping the yogurt, scooping the granola, scooping the fruit, all of those little things, or breakfast sandwiches kind of ready to go, where you could grab one and maybe even have the little kind of brown paper bag to take it in, the coffee paper cups with the sleeves ready, those kinds of things. I also think that people feel better if someone, from a service standpoint, is serving them if there is a buffet versus everyone touching those handles and spoons and serving pieces. But you could walk through quickly. Someone in a mask, gloved, is just popping stuff on your plate as you go through. If you are going to sit down, tends to speed things up. So I think prepackaged or breakfast boxes, like if I can order one, I love it when I have the little deal to hang on my doorknob and I can order breakfast when I go to bed to either pick up in the lobby on my way out or eat in the restaurant or in the lobby or somewhere, sit and work on my own, or take it in my Uber and go. And it gets charged to my room and I'm done. And I can get my whatever breakfast sandwich, smoothie, something, and it's just packaged and it makes life easier. So I think, similar to that takeout model, we need to think about our three meals in a similar way. How can we do those grab and go quick options for people?
Great, thanks. I just want to say, Randy, I know you just sent a question and by accident I deleted it. I didn't mean to do that. So if you could retype that, it'd be great. Here's a question about air. Fresh air is really important, especially in guest rooms and elevators. Have you seen any solutions for air filters for circulating air in elevators or in guest rooms? Some hotels in our membership do have windows that open, so that's a great solution, but many of them don't.
Great. Yeah, that is coming. I don't think any of us have been privy yet, but I know our partners in our firm and the partners we work with, we work with a lot of consultants. There's been a lot of chatter. Ourselves, we haven't been able to be on a project yet that's implementing that, but it is all coming.
There is sorry, Lisa.
No, go ahead.
There is a restaurant group I do know. They're called Jester Concepts. They have a bar and cocktail lounge in Minneapolis called Parlor. And they have talked about how they have updated the filters in their HVAC system that have a certain sort of filter that's beyond HEPA filter that's supposed to be catching some of the virus. I don't have all the details on it, but I think that they have shared some of that on their social media. So we could definitely send some follow-up if we find out what that filter system was.
I also know that there are smaller, more off-the-shelf air purifiers that you can buy. You plug them in with a USB and charge them up, and then they're portable and you can move them around, whether it's in a guest room or in a private dining experience. And I actually have one in my home, and there you just click it on and it runs. And if it senses that it needs to purify the air, it kind of does its thing. They're not that expensive, and it's just that peace of mind that they're doing their job and making sure the air is clean and purified. So maybe not ideal for an elevator. Elevators are tricky, but for guest rooms and other smaller public spaces, definitely worth looking at.
Okay, great, thanks. How about projects in Wisconsin? We have a question. Have you done anything in Madison, Wisconsin, or other areas in the central part of the state?
I have done some student housing in that area, not hotels, but we've done stuff in, have you, Bridget, in Madison?
Well, I was going to say Green Bay. We've done Lodge Kohler.
Yeah, Lodge Kohler, sorry.
Kohler and the Hilton Garden Inn in Wausau.
Milwaukee Marriott.
Milwaukee Marriott we've done over the years. They are actually, we did their lobby 5 years ago. And they are on tap to do their entire guest rooms. Marriott is giving a little bit of grace. They should have been started already, but of course they're giving grace period due to COVID. But that one I'm hoping will be a future project for ESG. Will be the Milwaukee Marriott, but it's the one on the outskirts of town, Milwaukee West.
Yep, and we are seeing that all the brands, for property improvement plan requirements are giving almost a full year extension to do those things to keep your flag, to update your space. So things that we were maybe hired for pre-pandemic have been shelved, and then when they're ready to pick up probably this year, they'll move forward as construction dollars become available. So it's, the brands went through a big hit as well. A lot of their staff and people kind of monitoring a lot of those hotel projects for us, they were either furloughed or laid off, and now they're back. And so I think there will be a big boom of hospitality improvements in the next year or two, which is promising. We love what we do, and we love more fun things to design for sure.
So we haven't done Madison, but we're very open to it.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising.
So here's another quick question. I know you're not directly involved in procurement or purchasing, but you've probably heard about supply and demand of certain hospitality items. Are there shortages of lighting or carpeting or different products that a hotel might need to plan for, where a lead time might have been 10 weeks, it should now be 2 months, or even not, 6 months is what I mean. So, okay.
Lead times, I don't think there's ever going to be a shortage. It's everyone just reduced staff slightly. So I would say to what your lead times you thought, you probably should be adding 4 to 6 weeks is what I've been hearing. There's just a delay, especially with any China products. I know a lot of our mainstay manufacturers, a lot of our hospitality fabric vendors are starting to stock in the United States because they anticipate a wave of renovating and getting back to business. So they're just preparing for it and shipping product to the United States. And I'm hoping more companies will follow suit. But for those custom pieces, it is sounding like there's at least a 4 to 6 week delay. If you're already in process, you're fine. But if you're starting now, I would add some time till we get back to normal.
Yeah, and we all know everything's kind of interconnected. And I think where we've seen a lot of the holds is even the textile mills. Like Lisa said, a lot of them have reduced staff. So whether, the case good manufacturer, if they're overseas in China, they've been able to meet the lead time, but we're stuck, waiting for the fabric to come from the textile mill. So definitely just give yourself that extra buffer, like Lisa's saying.
And there are great American companies. The only one that can't really get around is lighting, just because we just lost the ability to build those parts in the US. So lighting, unfortunately, the parts, even if some companies manufacture in the US, but the parts still come from China. So lighting is probably the most critical because the parts just are not made in the States anymore. But
I do think in the South and like Georgia especially, it's like carpet mill heaven. So if you're not looking for Axminster wool, which is usually made overseas, and your property is maybe more limited service, or you're okay with a nylon blend, there's tons of options here domestically. And sometimes it's partnering with a designer that can help you understand the resources available, but also, quick ship options, stock options. There's always a way. There's always a way around those tricky lead times. But yeah, we used to see 10 to 12 weeks. Now it's definitely like 18 to 20 weeks for lead time for FF&E.
Okay, I believe that's all the questions that we have. Oh, there's one more. A question regarding hard surface, but I'm not quite sure.
In the guest room, maybe switching from carpet, which I think is a good thing if the budget allows.
Yeah.
Especially with COVID and cleanliness, we're seeing a lot of people moving towards resilient wood look flooring, which you'd be surprised has come so far from the days of the quote unquote pergo laminate we saw like in cheaper or less quality kind of construction in the past. Now it's more of a glue down plank that gives you that solid feel underfoot. Often it has a photograph that matches the texture, more of a matte finish. Awesome way to go. Can be used in wet areas too with a commercial finish. So we're seeing it carrying right through to the bathroom. These have been salons and healthcare. So it will hold up in a guest room. Something to consider if you are considering pulling carpet out. Really update and refresh your room. I'd still recommend a area rug under the bed because we like to step down in something soft in a hospitality setting. But yeah, more and more properties are switching to that, and lots of brands are making that a standard as well. Hope I answered the non-question question.
I think you did a great job. Thanks, Anne. Well, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. Anne, Bridget, Lisa, it was wonderful. We really appreciate it. And we're thrilled that we'll be able to post this video on our website. So for those of others who would like to view it again or get in touch with you, that would be a great way to do it. We'll be providing more information about other seminars coming up. And Monica, you can take over the controls.
Yeah, thank you again, Anne, Bridget, Lisa, Connie, for being here and sharing this information. It was really great. So be sure to join us next week. We are doing a special In It Together about PPP, so everybody's ready for round 2. So be sure to register for that. There's information on our website, and it will be on the newsletter as well, and we'll have standalone emails coming. And also, if you have not done so, we are on for an in-person event March 7th through the 9th in Green Bay. So please register and join us. We're working really closely with our hosts at the Hyatt Regency to make sure this is a really safe event, and we have some great education lined up. So thanks again. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.